Darryl Bates-Brownsword, welcome to Succession Stories. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thanks, Laurie. Hey, and thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited myself. We've had one or two conversations in the past, so we've got a bit of an idea where this is going to go, but I'm in your hands.
Well, let's get started. Why don't you share a bit about your background and how you got into this crazy world of succession?
Yeah, well, it's a long story and a short story. So, look, I've been working with small to medium sized businesses for the last 20 years, I guess, in total. Small to medium in my world is really 10 10 people, £2 million, £2 million turnover to that 30 million mark. So 10 to 200 people is where I like to play and I do my best work. And my background was I was just coaching and consulting and helping them grow for many years. But I just saw a pattern of too many business owners getting to the point where they were going, hey, look, I'm time to exit my business. It's a really good business. I'll hope that someone will come and knock on my door and make me an offer. And just realizing that that hope strategy wasn't working out for them because too many of them were ending up with horrific type of earnout arrangements. And it was so obvious that entrepreneurs and earnouts are just like oil and water and they just don't mix. And what should have been the highlight of their career of building something from scratch turned out to feeling like a messy divorce for them. And I thought we got to do something about that. We got to change that. It's avoidable. So and that's about 3 or 4 years ago, 2019, I switched from just, well, I'd say just from business growth, but helping them to grow to the revenue to focusing on let's grow the equity valuation and get you exit ready. You don't have to exit, but if you exit ready, you tend to be in a much better position and headspace anyway. So
Yeah, absolutely.
the
We
medium
can't
version.
do exit planning when we're exiting. It's too late. So the message that you have and that I have, and I certainly we're going to carry through is why is it important to start the preparations when you're still running your business? Part of the thing, I think some of the challenges that you see, and certainly I do as well, is the notion of an entrepreneur at their core is that they want control. They want control even more, maybe if they're the founder, because they feel that this is their baby. And those
Yeah.
feelings of control and the actions that they take with control can lead to certain unintended outcomes. So I wanted to have a conversation with you about this because you brought it up to me that you see a lot of times challenges with entrepreneurs and how can we help them look in the mirror and see around corners when they might be hurting the value of their business.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of a necessary phase of the journey, isn't it? Because to nurture a business from start, from nothing, and create something out of nothing, you need someone who's incredibly driven. You need someone who touches everything, is that inspirational energy that people just go, oh, I want to follow that person. They're onto something. I want to be part of that journey with them. I'm not going to start it, but there's something about this person. I want to work with them. So that high energy, and they're typically great. They come up with 25 ideas a day, and about one of them is of going to go somewhere. But someone needs to filter out those other 24 ideas and go, look, let's just park those for another day, shall we? So you need that control freak, that person who says, we're going to do it this way. They're incredibly decisive. They get things done, which is great up until about 10 or 15 people. And what I've seen is that you see a number of businesses in the UK. There's a stack of businesses that just plateau at about £1 million in revenue. I'm guessing it's similar over there. £1 million in revenue is kind of equates to about 10 people. And I think that's the telling point. It's 10 people. And what is it about 10 people? Well, the control freak can have a span of control of 7 to 12 people where they can dictate, they can touch, they can control, they know exactly what's going on, they can be up to date, they can micromanage, dare I say it, in their mind, delegate, but they can manage and know everything that's going on of that size. Then when they try and grow a bit bigger, they get to 15, 20 people, they can't micromanage that many people at the same time. So what tends to happen is that they'll grow to that size, they'll try and delegate, and they'll end up just sort of abdicating and just offloading and dumping a role on someone, and then the person doesn't do it to their expectations. So they'll take it back and go, well, if you want to get something done right around here, you got to do it yourself. And then they'll just shrink back to that controllable size. So what I've learned and observed over the years is that they haven't figured out how to delegate and maintain control at the same time without interfering and micromanaging. And that's the first inflection point, or well, probably the second inflection point of a growing business. First one is your first employee. The next one is, how do I now create a management team where I can, hand out and delegate and just have the reporting and information systems feeding back and give me all the confidence that everything is being done around here the way the way I want it to be done around here. And we can talk about McDonald's and what have you, but it's that same essence, isn't it? It's giving them the system, not micromanaging the task, and letting them make mistakes. But yeah, it's that inflection point that I just found so interesting when I first became AHA, of that 10 or 12 people changing from a business, or let's call it a job with 10 helpers. You've often got a manager or an owner with 10 helpers, and changing it to an actual viable, growing, sustainable business. You've got to change the way you're doing things. And that's often hard. Well, it is hard for everyone, and not everyone gets to make that transition. I'll stop rabbiting on.
There's a couple of things in what you're saying there, Darryl, I just want to hone in on. I'm reminded of an experience that I had working in a company. I joined as employee 12. So to your point,
Yeah.
The founder was the CEO at the time, and the product visionary, the main developer even of the product, and he had control over design. I was hired in for marketing, and he had some feelers into that as well. He was all over the company with 12 people. As we grew, he had to take steps back in certain areas, but you could tell in his personality, it made him very uncomfortable. He was very uncomfortable letting go, especially when it came to the product. And now the company has changed hands. It went through an exit. He had left well before that. But I do believe that sometimes founders, and in this case with this particular person, he was likely holding the company back, just from different aspects of his management style and inability to let go to enable the company to grow.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. They are actually holding the company back, but in their mind, they're holding the company together. And I'm the only one who can do things right around here. And if you want it done properly, I have to be involved. And that ends up making them frustrated because you can't get good help. And so you talk to the staff and you go, what's it like? And they go, well, the boss is frustrated all the time. So I don't know if you've ever worked for a frustrated boss, but I've worked for a frustrated boss in the past. And as an employee, I had a choice. I could leave. And many employees do. They leave working for a frustrated boss because they don't have to. They're not tied into the business. And then the boss just keeps doing things the same way and blames the employees. And then you need someone like you or myself to come in and go, what's the common denominator here? What's the recurring theme? The employees come in, you're blaming them. They're all different. You're the consistency here. Maybe it's time to look in the mirror. So
that could be a tough realization when you realize the cultural issues your company is having is because of your management style.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of psychology here, isn't it, Darryl? That we have to take apart the situation and see what is truly the root issue. And if the issue is we are growing, I'm feeling less control, it's making me stressful, then let's admit that, because now we can get you help around the solution.
Yeah.
If you are always blaming other people and thinking that it's their fault, you're never going to get to the root issue of what's the problem in the organization.
You're dead right. And it's a tough conversation to have, even as that outside consultant, because no one likes to deliberately upset anyone. And as a consultant, I guess you're always concerned about losing the client. But the employees aren't having that conversation because they can't. And then you've got to go, well, what is it you really want from this business? What are you trying to achieve? If it is growth, then you need to change. If you're quite happy being that center of the business and having 10, 12, 15 helpers around you, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's just call it what it is. Yeah, and it's probably making good money because entrepreneurs who do that typically have employed lower level employees, and because they can tell them what to do. Because the more capable senior employees don't like being micromanaged, so they leave. But you need to change the structure and go. At the moment, there's a big gap in skill set between you and those 10 or 15 helpers. They're just sitting around waiting to be told what to do because they're the only people that haven't left. You've got to change that. If you are serious about, hey, I want to build something that I can sell, then there are things you need to change. And otherwise, it's not sellable as it is. You're going to be one of the 4 out of 5 businesses who don't sell. And that's the reality check we need to bring to them. And I guess you do the same thing and just go, what is it you really want? How serious are you about that? Because if you're saying, I really want this, but your behavior is suggesting that, then there's a mismatch, and we need to address that. And it's sometimes they don't want to hear it, and sometimes they go, okay, just show me how. I'm so stressed this
There's
way.
this epiphany moment, isn't there, when
Yeah.
someone realizes they're now seeing something they haven't seen before, and they can't unsee it. Now they realize, like you said, they give up. Okay, help me. I need
Yeah,
to address this.
that's a
It's
good
making
point.
me, lose sleep. I'm having issues with my relationships outside of work, with my family, with my kids. I am
Yeah.
avoiding conflict. Like, it just starts to snowball. It's very unhealthy. And sometimes people say, I'm gonna take care of this, and other times people kick it down the can. Let me broaden out the conversation for a moment. Why do you think people avoid these hard things? When it comes
Because
to
they're hard.
succession, when it comes to exit planning, when it comes to getting you know, great advisors to help us figure out our problems, why do we continue to kick the can?
Well, look, as entrepreneurs, we know what we're good at, and we know what we're doing, and they're often confident beings. They are used to figuring stuff out for themselves, and they're smart people. And it's a bit like a teenage male, I think. We go through that journey of our business, and yeah, I was a teenage male, and I guess I was fairly stereotyped in that, those teenage years I was pretty dumb and stupid, and needed to figure out everything for myself, even though I had two fantastic, loving parents trying to guide me and go, you don't have to do that. Well, yeah, I'm a teenage male. I can look back and go, yeah, I'm a teenage male, Dad. What do you expect?
Standard answer.
But yeah, and then I hit about 22, and I remember thinking it was almost like a switch, and it's the old man's not so bad after all, and I've got a great relationship with both my parents, but there's something about being human, I think, where you there is a part where you got to figure it out for yourselves, and the entrepreneurial journey is somewhat like that. In the early stages, in the early, and I don't mean necessarily time wise, I mean size wise of the business, the entrepreneur is still stuck in that teenage male mode where they've got to figure it all out for themselves. And then they'll get the aha moment, whether for whatever reason, when they start looking, they'll hit that aha moment, and it'll be, oh, it's not a failure to bring help in. It's actually an accelerant. I can actually go faster, and by bringing help in. And oh, look, these people are actually better at it than me. All I got to do is steer and conduct, and get everyone else to do things for me. It gives me the leverage, and things start happening faster. And look at that, it's more profitable as well. Oh, and the business is now worth more. So I win all the way to the bank type of thing.
I'm
So
glad you said that, because that was going to be my next question, is for you to connect the dots for us. We've been talking about why it's important for you to let go of this internal control freak, why you need to surround yourself with great teammates, great advisors, people that can help you build the business, and why it's important to kind of look in the mirror and see ways that you can structure the business beyond you. So connect the dots to value.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it so it's as an entrepreneur, you've got to be like, you're at the heart and soul of the business, and that's always the case in owner-led businesses, no matter how big they are. People are always looking to the entrepreneurs for guidance, inspiration in how to show up and how to behave in the business. And so it's a bit of a double standard, but we've the entrepreneurs lead the way in the business of how we do things. And I think that often helps, leads to these entrepreneurs of wanting to play that Superman role. And and what does Superman do? Well, he goes and solves all the problems, and he's always looking to rescue people and save them and solve their problems. And perhaps, here we go, thinking on my feet, perhaps we need to move out of the Superman role and move into the Avengers, and then it's a team game, and get a management team of the Avengers, or the X-Men, or whatever it is. But it's a team game. If you really want to take it, you need to swap from, you need to evolve. And being a solo player is not a bad thing, but you need to evolve into that team game and spread that key person risk over the management team, because that's a lot more attractive to be acquired than when everything's just one key person or two key people.
Yeah, and it's a long game too. If you're from a stage of life standpoint, building the business, you're not ready to sell it, you're not ready to retire, you're not ready to do anything different, you enjoy what you're doing, you just want it to be more enjoyable, right? When's the last time you took a vacation? When's the last time you truly unplugged on that vacation? Didn't check email, didn't check phone, check your voicemail. A lot of entrepreneurs can't say that. In the States, it's very, very common in small businesses that people are working more than 60 hours a week. So what does that mean for burnout? What does that mean for our mental health?
Yeah.
And the more we're a control freak and not letting people help us do what we need to do, doesn't mean you have to have employees. We can have contractors, we can have
Yeah.
partners, strategic partners, we can have others that we're working with. People might misinterpret what we're saying is that you have to add, in the US, the tax, W-2 status. That's not necessarily what we're saying. We're just saying, think about your processes, your people, and your systems to enable you to let go and focus on your highest and best use. So Darryl, let me ask you this, because this is kind of a subjective question. I hear different answers from different folks. What do you see? And you talked a bit about hiring to your strengths. Maybe we are best at sales and we're not so good at finance. So we want to make sure to surround ourselves with finance people who can help balance out where we're not so strong, right? So if you think about the Strength Finders books like that help us balance out where we're not so strong. One of the
Yeah.
entrepreneurs that I've spoken with said she did the opposite. She said she wanted to have someone who could take over what she did. Therefore, she took a look at what her strengths were and was really looking to promote and delegate off of her plate, which was a 180 from, I think, how we normally look at things. To help us grow, we let go. Well, what are we letting go of and to whom? What are your thoughts around that?
I think there's no one right way to skin a cat. That's probably not the right thing to say nowadays. There's not one right way to solve a problem, one definitive way. And it depends on the style of the person. So what I notice is that some people, as they grow their business, it starts with them. And I know this is not directly answering your question, but the first person they'll employ is an assistant. So they'll go, let me get rid of all the stuff that I don't want, and I'll get an assistant, a VA, an admin person, what have you. And I give them all the stuff that I hate doing. You might also go, it's lower value work, but that person's a less experienced and less qualified employee. So some people grow that way. Yeah, and other people grow, they go, well, look, I'm the salesperson, I'm the product person, whatever it is. I want to grow my business. So why don't I get another person like me who basically doubles the capacity of the business by bringing in, an additional top hire? That also works. It's probably a higher risk of bringing in a more expensive employee, but they're going to be more productive. Now, that strategy is going to create more of a problem downstream, but it's cheaper to bring in an admin staff than it is a salesperson. So that's what I mean. There's no one right way to grow a business. What we got to do is where I see our role is to go, let's figure out what is required for the cultural and the commercial aspects of the business. You need to get those in balance to get a smooth flowing, business. Once the business gets a bit bigger and we're moving above the 10, 15 sort of person, at that 10-ish sort of mark, that's when you really need to start thinking about, right, I now need to create a middle layer. I need a management team at this level. Now, when I'm looking at a management team at that level, I'm starting to go, what are the functional requirements of the business? The business needs some finance skills. We need to manage the finance. We need some marketing and sales and marketing skills, and we need operation skills, production skills. So how do we spread that workload across the people in the business? You know, if I'm the founder and I'm good at finance, well, I'll take on the finance role for now and I'll employ the other two, is how I typically look at it. And then I get the whole team working functionally, and then I'll recruit a finance person. The other way I look at it is also to go, if I'm building the business to increase the valuation, not just the profit, what are the things I need to do? In the last probably 15 or 20 years, the part-time C-level role has become really popular. Like you can get an interim or fractional CFO or CMO or what have you. I think bringing in a fractional CFO is a good thing. Fractional, why in a CFO role? Why? Well, the CFO skills, I know you get industry specialization, but generally for the lower end of businesses, those skills are really transferable across all industries. And they're great skills to have in your business, but they're not primary to your business thriving, because your business thriving is your marketing and sales expertise and your production expertise. I wouldn't outsource. Now, how would I go about outsourcing the marketing? Well, I would like to have someone in-house doing my marketing strategy, but I might outsource my marketing delivery side of things, because that way I've got the IP, the intellectual property, the know-how, the nous for how I do marketing in my business in-house. Because that if I'm developing brand and value of my business, that's primary to my business valuation growth. And similar role to our operations. So support roles, no worries. Outsource fractional roles. Primary roles to the delivery of my product and my market, I like to have them in-house of the business.
A great
So there's
answer.
just
Thank you.
a couple of different ways that I process that
Yeah, I
question.
love it. No, I love how you look at that. It's really helpful. Darryl, as we wind down our conversation, let's try to summarize for our listeners. What are three things that you want people to take away and make actionable from our conversation today?
See if I can get three. But one of the first things that I want business owners to look at is to go, look, if I'm thinking at some point I'm going to exit my business, the first thing I need to do is if I'm going to exit my business, the first thing I want to do is make that mindset shift. And if I want to increase the valuation of my business, make that mindset shift from just revenue growth to valuation growth, right? Because you can increase the valuation of your business without changing your revenue by making it more attractive. So there's that first mindset shift. The next one is to go, well, look, if when selling my business, depending on the size of it, there may be some requirement to have an earnout. The earnout is when you're handing over all of the knowledge and the intellectual capital of your business to the new owners. You can plan and do that earnout period before you hand over the equity, or you can do that earnout period after you've done the deal. Yeah, if you do it before, I call that succession planning. That's de-risking the business. When you do the deal, it's a far more secure deal than doing it after, because everything's at risk. You're no longer in control of your business. And the third one is, I don't know, I'm stuck. I'm thinking they're the two things.
We can go
Have
with
fun.
two.
Have fun, and make sure that you think about what you want as the outcome in advance. Because what's the old saying? Fail to plan, plan to fail. Like, just think about it. Even if it's just a big picture direction, what do you want out of this? Do you want to leave a legacy? Do you want to maximize value? What is it you want to achieve? Think about your goals and well, here it is. Here's the big one. You ready for this one? If you're really clear about your exit planning, you need to know what you're moving on to. What's your next vision? What are you going to do after you leave the business? Are you going to be chairman of the golf club, or what? Are you going to do charity work? Are you going to walk around Africa? What is it you're going to do? Because if you don't have a vision of where you're going to next, that's when business owners subconsciously put a stop to the deal. They don't know why the deals just don't go ahead, because they're visionary people. They need something to go on to. That's a
Absolutely.
long-winded answer, isn't it?
Absolutely. There are probably a million things that inspire you, Darryl. If there's a quote that sticks in your mind or comes to mind that you want to share with the audience, what would it be?
A quote. probably begin with the end in mind. I know it's from Covey, but yeah, it's one of the ones that bounces around my head. Just going, if I'm going to begin with the end in mind, yeah, it'll affect the way I do everything. So there we go. There's one.
Yeah, I love that one. I use that quite a bit. And if people want to get in touch with you, Darryl, what's a great way for them to do that? Let's do all the plugs. Tell us about your podcast. Tell us about Succession Plus, everything.
Well, I'm in the fortunate position, Laurie, that if you have a look at my name on screen, it's pretty unique. There's only one of me in the world. If you get the spelling right, you're going to find me if you stick my name in Google. So that'll come up on LinkedIn, Darryl Bates-Brownsword on LinkedIn. If you're interested in the podcast, I host a podcast called Exit Insights, where I'm talking to people around what they learned along the way of preparing their business for exit and how they can increase the valuation and exit like a boss. And then the website is succession.plus. And they're probably the best few ways to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Darryl, thank you so much for coming on Succession Stories. I was a guest on your show. I had a great time, and I definitely want to encourage people to listen to my episode on your show and others as well. And thank you for your time. It was a great conversation, and I know people get a lot of benefit from it.
Thanks, Laurie. I've really enjoyed sharing some ideas with you today.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining Succession Stories. Be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast player and also on YouTube at the Business Transition Sherpa. For more insights from transition to transaction, be sure to tune in next time.